Welcome back. This is Tarico Satterfield, your mental performance consultant. We're about to jump into this conversation. You guys know, if you hadn't already enjoyed all the shows we've done, we've brought neuroscientists in, we brought CMPC people in, we brought student athletes in all across the United States. And so no different today. No different today. We have one of those people who are working in the profession that we're going to have share some insights and wisdom with you all as an audience. It's one thing for me to tell you, but it's a whole nother ball game when you have somebody that has done it before, somebody that's in it, doing it at the moment, and then they're able to translate that information to you so that you become better. If you want to become better, do me a favor. Tune in, listen in, lean close. Listen, it's going to be good. And if you have not already, go over to YouTube, like, subscribe, follow the channel, and listen to those other shows. It's going to blow you away. I'm telling you now, without further ado, y'all, I know we can talk about Oral Roberts University. We could talk about all these different colleges out there, y'all, but the creme de la creme is in the building. What are you talking about, Tarico? Y'all know where it is. Baylor University. What y'all say? Baylor University is in the building. And no, we don't got RG3, but we got Mike Miller from Baylor University on the show today. What's up, Mike Miller?
What's up, man? What's up? How you doing?
Man, we blessed to have you here today. Man, tell the people who you are, where you're from, and what you're doing out there at Baylor University, Mike.
Yeah, for sure. So, like you said, my name is Mike Miller. I am the Director of Character Formation or Student Athlete Development here at Baylor University, and living it up, hanging out with our guys and doing all that. I hail from the great state of Colorado.
Come on, not Colorado.
Yep, Denver, Colorado. That's where I'm from, man, and I rep that as best as I can. Maybe some questionable stuff out there, depending on who you are, but we're good. We're good people out there, I promise. But yeah, so that's me. That's what I do. That's where I'm from, and I'm here.
Mike, so I gotta ask you, Mike. I gotta ask you: Are you a Colorado Buffalo fan?
I'm a Baylor Bear.
Good answer, Mike. Good answer.
Now, I did grow up watching the Buffs.
Okay, you grew up watching the Buffs. Now, how about the Broncos? Are you a Broncos guy?
I am a Broncos fan, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a tough ending to the season this year. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, grew up watching the Broncos, man. I look good in orange.
They showed out though, Mike. They showed out.
They're all right. I mean, we hope for a little bit better, but that's okay. Life happens.
Now, between you and I, I'm not gonna lie. They might have did a little better, if they had Alabama quarterback. I'm just saying.
Haters gonna hate, man. Go ahead.
I went to that other school in Alabama and then transferred. No, man, but it's so good to have you on the show, man. I want to just jump into this. You said you are the director of character formation, and you don't hear that at a lot of colleges, but I love that specification at Baylor. Tell us a little bit about character formation and what that means for athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. Comparable to student athlete development is kind of what you'll hear at a lot of big schools or just a lot of schools in general. And so we operate similarly. I think kind of a distinction for us is the faith-based aspect, right? And then just trying to intertwine our faith into what we do, whether that's through programming or whether that's through relationships and how we're speaking to our student athletes. And then just kind of building off of those values as well, right? And so Baylor is a faith-based institution, and so we want to make sure that's a part of what we do in everything that we do. When we talk about character, I think we use that distinction because that's what we're building, right? And so even if you're talking about student-athlete development, that's what you're building in a nutshell, is that character, right? So we're teaching you how to, be present. We're teaching you how to be on time or how to handle your finances, or talk about conflict in relationships. That's your character, right? A lot of people talk about, good character. Sometimes they'll kind of switch that out with, and make it synonymous with integrity and what are you doing when people aren't watching? And that's what we're building. And so we want to make sure that people know that and understand that's kind of what we're here to do. But we also want to do that from, our roots and our background and what our faith is here in Christ.
Man, I love that, Mike, because what it says to me is that you guys are shaping the identity, right? When we think about character, what comes to mind, I did a little musical theater in college, and we used to have to do character analysis, right? On whomever it is that we're playing a role, right? You have to understand that person, who they are, the tonality of their voice. You had to understand what their interactions look like with their mom or with their dad, or you have to study that. And so I love hearing you talk about character formation being how is your identity lined up with Christ?
Mm.
Because it leans towards having a dialogue. Or are you interacting with Christ properly? And is he leading in your identity complex as you go on the field or as you're interacting with people? Let me ask you this. When it comes to kind of you as an athlete, because I know you were an athlete yourself, when did you first realize your worth wasn't tied to stats or contracts or trophies, Mike? When did that happen for you?
Late,
Late, late in the game?
late. I would say so. Honestly, that really happened. I had a huge turning point in college. I had transferred into Taylor University. So shout out to my Taylor Trojans.
Shout out
Probably
to Taylor
nobody knows what
University.
that is for the most part, but small NAI school. And honestly, I was blessed to be there because it really helped me in my transition into the NFL afterwards, right? And so just being a small school guy, I kind of had the opportunity, we'll say, to do all the little things
Mhm,
and go to all the chapels that we need to go to being at a Christian school. And really just dive into some of the things that sometimes athletes nowadays, especially at a P4, they might not
mhm,
have the time to be able to do those things,
mhm.
and I did. And really, it came for me is there was a moment in time, I believe it was end of my sophomore year, and I thought I was going to be ineligible for football.
You did.
Yes, because of my grades.
Oh, so you were struggling in your grades, Mike?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, you know what, Mike? I appreciate that transparency because I think that people know like that some athletes struggle with their grades.
Yeah.
Nobody really talk about it,
No.
right? And I
Yeah.
was that athlete, I tell people that all the time, if I was dependent on my grades for success, it
Right.
wasn't a possibility through them grades, but I had some gifts and talents that I could lean into.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
talk about that because that had to be a part of the formation for your character as well, right?
Yeah.
I'm
100%.
struggling in school, doing well in sports, but I gotta do this schoolwork because
Right.
that's a lot of
Yeah, I mean, every college athlete, right? And so for me, I was just like, man, it was just I'm here for football. That's what I was doing.
Mhm.
Which is really funny when you like when I look back and think about it, I'm like, man, I was at a school of like 1,800 kids. It's like NAI, like you're here for football, man. Like, but I was, and so like grades were just a means to continue to play football, right? And that's what school was. It was just kind of in
Mhm.
my way, check the box, get it done to make sure that I could keep playing.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then that time came where it was like, oh, your grades aren't doing that well. Like, if you don't do this or you don't do that, like, you're not gonna be playing. And I think that's when it hit me where I was like, man, like, I only care about this because football was everything, right?
Right.
And I didn't care about really anything else. And like, between, like I said, the times where I was able to go to different things and like we had FCA on campus, and I
Mhm.
wasn't really huge into like doing all the extra stuff because of football,
Mhm.
but I still had the opportunity and all of it kind of just hit me at once. And so, yeah, I think that's really where like the identity piece outside of sport really started to form for me. But
Mhm.
when it came to grades, man, like I really struggled early on in college and in high school. I almost didn't graduate high school. I was like one test away from graduating from high school. And
I
then I got
understand.
into college and I didn't really do that well. And we could talk about this at another point in time. When I
Mhm.
hit, when I was at JUCO and I hit what I would call my rock bottom, like in
Mhm.
life,
Mhm.
I started to turn it up there, kind of sunk back down once I transferred out and then hit like a point. And I think part of it was just age and maturity, but I was just like, why am I not trying? Like I knew I was capable of doing it. I just like wasn't, I didn't want to do my homework. I would just go get an A on a test or something like that and then be done. Like,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
not do anything else. So my grades were still really low.
Mhm.
And so I just kind of like hit this point in time where, again, this point that I'm talking about, where it started
Mhm.
to shift my mindset. Grades started picking up. Everything just started, skyrocketing because I cared more about like my identity as a person and not just football.
I love that you're saying that because so many people, are gonna watch this and go through the identity complex because their grades are not doing well, right? And a lot of times what I see happen in school over my years of working with schools, working with athletes is that a lot of students do not carry purpose in schoolwork, right? The purpose is, like you said, I'm here to play football.
Yep.
I don't see any purpose with me doing these assignments though.
Right.
Now, if these assignments help me play football, then that give me a little purpose. So I'll do just enough so I
Yep.
can play ball.
Right.
But at the end, I'm not gonna be getting paid for working a job like this. And what I saw myself doing, Mike, was beginning to cultivate a different idea for them, a different picture, which was this. Instead of your grades being representative of you playing the sport, let your grades be the kind of car you want to drive. Let
Mhm.
your grades be the kind of house you want to be able to afford. Let your grades be representative of your children and you being able to take care of them, right? Do you want a family? You want a wife? Well, what do you want to take your wife to dinner at? Right? Do you want to take your wife to McDonald's for dinner? Or do you want to take her to Ruth Chris for dinner? Right? And I said, so if your grades have a different, as you say, character
Mhm.
attached to them, then I guarantee you'll change how you look at grades you get.
Right.
Let me
Right.
ask you, Mike, what pressure do people not see when they look at athletes? What pressure do they people not see when they compete?
That's a great question, man. I was just talking about this the other day, and I think that our Baylor athletes like struggle with this a lot. And I
Mhm,
think all athletes do, but for some reason specifically here, and we could get into that, but it's really the expectation of what they're going to be outside of sport.
mhm,
I think is really, really high.
mhm.
So, which is funny because it doesn't necessarily correlate to what they care about, right? So it's
Right.
like, I'm gonna play in the NFL, I'm gonna play in the NBA, I'm gonna be play in the WNBA, I'm gonna go play, Major League Soccer or, volleyball or whatever that might be. And it doesn't correlate, but they still have that in the back of their head. It's like, if I don't, like, I'm expected to be up here because I go to Baylor University and the academics are really rigorous and the expectations of people and the alumni and what they've accomplished are like
Mhm,
up here. And
mhm.
so this expectation is for me to hit this mark outside of
Right.
my sport. So now the expectation is both, right? Either I'm playing professionally, and if not, I'm a CEO like today.
Right.
And I think that is one for sure. I think that expectation outside of sport is a big pressure. I think like, man, what was it? I think there's another one and I just lost it, man. But that expectation for sure is a big one.
Mhm.
And then just performance in general, right? Now
Yeah.
everyone sees like the pressure of performance here, but the pressure of performance in like relationships is a really big one
Yeah, yeah.
that people don't see. Like, I got to put my family on. I got to put my friends
Mhm,
on. I might have a roommate that's my brother, right, or my
mhm.
sister. Or shoot, we have a few guys where it's like, I got kids.
Right.
My sister and her kid that we have one like sister and her kid live with me, and I need to take care of them because that's what I was tasked to do as like an older brother is like take care of your family. Like you
Yeah.
gotta be the one to watch out for your sister. And so I think relationships and that pressure is also really big that people kind of just let slide past because they see the athlete.
I love that you brought that up because I agree that there's a whole element. We say you're more than an athlete, and that statement is said so loosely. Like, because we're saying that they're more than an athlete, just speaking to their individuality, but they're actually more than just an individual, right? They have a mom, they have a dad, they have siblings. In some cases, they have children,
Mhm.
right? So when we say more than an athlete, I think so many times we talk about all the other attachments, but not even talking about them being more than that just with their family unit, their family dynamic. And I might be more than an athlete because I may have diabetes, right? I may be more than an athlete because I may be from another country
Yep.
and I may be here by myself.
Yep.
So when we say those statements, let me ask you this. What voice gets the loudest, do you think, right before the biggest moments? Is it faith, you believe, or fear?
Depends on who it is.
Let's talk about that because I love that question because character formation, when you think about character formation, I love you say it depends on who it is.
Right.
Because there are some people who I'll say don't go to church,
Yep. 100%.
but they have a stronger faith than people who go to church,
Mm.
who still allow fear to be the loudest voice in their ear
Right.
and lack that confidence. What do you think the gap is there, Mike, between whether faith is that voice and fear is the voice?
I think it's the people you surround yourself with. to be honest. Like, are you having people that are speaking positively about you? Right? Are you having people that are encouraging you to speak positively about yourself? You know, we have like our like mental health department here within athletics, right? Do we have a guy that is going to see them proactively versus a guy that's going to see them reactively,
Mhm.
right? And that reactive, it might be I'm going out of the fear, or I've already hit this point to where now I
Mhm.
need help. To where proactive might be, I want to be proactive about this and stay ahead of, whatever might come so that I'm well equipped for whenever that time does come, if that time does come,
Mhm.
that I know how to handle it. So when that pressure does come, I have somebody that can speak from faith and I can have somebody that speaks from fear. But if I have people around me, right? So like one thing that Baylor does really well is we set up where we have responsibilities with different teams through character formation. So my staff and I, we have different teams that that we're responsible for to have like relationships one on one with like the people and the athletes on those rosters.
Mhm.
So then, when those big moments come, we've been able to speak life into them and speak to them and help them encourage. And so that inner critic, and that voice becomes a lot weaker and softer than
Mm.
all the voices that you have around you that are here to build you up, whether that was the proactive, things that you did, or whether that's the character formation people, or that's your family or your coaches, and then ultimately, hopefully, yourself, right? I
I
really
love
think
it.
it's who you're around has a huge part in that gap, and what you're surrounding yourself with on a daily basis.
We in sports, everybody, I always say this, everybody gets in the huddle. And so my challenge for every athlete is who's huddling in your head, right?
Yeah,
Right? Because whoever huddles in your head is what's going to have your heart. And then whatever has your heart will have your life,
yeah,
right? And so I love that you said that it depends on who's around you, because if the last 5 people you talked to told you ain't gonna do well, you ain't gonna make it, then you're probably replaying that in your head. Am I gonna do well? Am I gonna make it? Right. And so now fear is attached itself to your heart, and if fear is attached itself, then you're gonna start speaking it.
yep,
Then if you speak it, you're gonna start seeing it.
yep.
So it's all attached together.
And that also goes with social media, right? And you have to be able to create like a social media timeout for yourself because that's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
People can be terrible, man. And so, like, how are you making sure that you're limiting those things that you're seeing and not necessarily hearing, right? Or people even know to make sure that you're keeping those voices out too.
Mike, I'm about to let you in the vault real quick. I haven't ever said this publicly, but I'm gonna let you in the vault real quick
I got you.
of like idea that people lose sight of, Mike. The word media is closely related to the word mediation. And so if media is related to mediation, the whole thing about social media is that literally the social experience that you have is the mediation between what people who are you watching are saying to you, or what the people who hate on you, what they're saying to you,
Yeah.
and you being able to mediate, be in the middle, and push the wrong voices away, and then walk with the right voices forward.
Mm.
So a lot of people really haven't even kind of put the two and two together,
No,
that the
yeah.
whole concept of social media is the social mediating of your mindset,
Right.
right? And if you lose sight of that, then your character's gone.
Yeah.
Let's go deeper, Mike.
Mm.
When you hear the term rooted in greatness, Mike, what does that mean to you personally?
A whole lot. Rooted in greatness would be just like excelling, man. Like, but then you can say, what does that mean? Right. And so I don't want to use a term to define another term. But for me, excelling is going to be in a few different phases. Work for me is one of them. This is not in any specific order, but like
Mhm.
work, my faith, and then my family. Like for me, those are going to be like the excellence piece. Family is obviously as a son, as a brother, as a husband, as a father. Like I want to be excellent in all of those things
Mhm.
that I'm doing. I want to be present. I want to be encouraging, raise my kids in the way that I'm taught through like the Bible and the word, right?
Yeah.
And just be a man of God in every aspect. In my work, when we talk about greatness, I want to be the best, right? And I
Mm.
think sometimes people get that a little bit twisted with like the faith aspect and how aggressive or
Yeah.
how how excellent and being like the top of the top. Like I want to be the best, but that's because that's where my gifts are, right? My God-given gifts through both experience and just personality that God has blessed me with. And so to be the best in what I'm doing and do the best that I can with what God has given me, that is honoring to God. And
Right.
so I want to make sure that I'm doing that in my work. And then I also just truly believe like, like we were created to work and
Mhm.
that's in our nature. And so I want to do work at the highest level. I tell everybody I want to be, and I'm not shy about it. And people know this about me. And I'm also competitive, right? And that's the athlete in me too. But like, I want to be and will be the best like student athlete development professional in the country.
Come on,
That is
Mike.
my goal. I don't
Yeah,
even know how, I don't think that's an award or anything, but like, that's what I'm shooting for, man.
I know that's right.
But that also means like I want our department to be the best, character formation or student athlete development department in the country as well. Like that's the goal. Anything under that, I didn't achieve it.
Mm,
So both family and then work and then my faith, like I said, I just want to truly be like a man of God and what Christ has called me to be, both in service and honoring and glorifying God. And that's truly like why I believe that we were created in the first place. And so like that ultimately is what I want to do. But I want to do that through community and fellowship and relationships. God is a relational God. And so,
yeah,
we're made in his image. So I want to be able to do that as well. And then bring other people along with me,
yeah,
as I continue to grow, to be a witness, and really just to share the good news, man. And then from there, let the Holy Spirit do the rest. But I'm in a place where I'm able to do that. I've had experiences where I've been able to relate to a lot of different people, and we can get into
mhm,
that too. But I'm just grateful for those things that God has, given me the opportunity to have and put
mhm.
in different places to be able to share with a lot of different people. So I want to make sure I'm doing right by that.
I love it. Mike, you've been at the top. A lot of people hadn't been to that 1% level where
Yeah.
making it to the NFL. Let's talk a little bit about like what do you feel and several athletes kind of go through this, the pressure of success
Hmm.
and being successful. What do you do when your roots get tangled in success and success is trying to redefine you?
Yeah.
Right? Because when we talk about character formation and everything you just shared about those, what I call your pillars for your own personal life,
Right.
we always know that this stuff pulls and tries to redefine for you kind of who you are, where you are, and I'll just say it, like, sometimes we struggle with navigating that space ourselves because, like you said, I wanna be the best at what I do, but I know that there's this, one of the things the Lord spoke to my heart last year was that people had started to worship ambition,
Mm, hmm,
and they're turning ambition into an idol.
hmm.
And I had to pull back like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," because I started to see we think idolatry is just like we could simplify it as worshiping a statue, but what happens when you actually worshiping your goals?
Right.
What happens when your worship is going to your goals and you haven't laid before the Lord and asked him and laid those goals at his feet and said,
Right.
"Is this the goal you have for me?"
Yeah.
And am I defining myself as something that you don't even see?
Mm, mhm.
Right? How do you navigate that? Or if even speaking to athletes and forming their character around success, speak a little bit about that.
Yeah. So one of the things that I always like, this is like one of my things that I feel like a lot of like everybody kind of has their things that they like preach on, right?
Yeah,
Like your athletes are always like, oh man, like if they're making fun of me at a talent show, they're probably gonna say this. And it's start with gratitude. Like, Mike, oh, you always say that, Mike. Like start with gratitude. Like life is tough right now. I'm like, yes, it is, but it could be worse,
it could be worse.
So that's kind of like my thing, right? And so my thing is to start with gratitude and be
Mhm,
in a place where you have that. And that was really came from my experience in the league because I came from a school where no one has ever come out of there
mm,
before me and no one has come after me, right? So it's just
wow,
one. And so
you're one of one.
yeah, I don't know about all that, but I'm just a guy that played a sport, man. Uh, but really, like, I was so shook
Mm,
mentally and emotionally because I didn't know what to expect. And I'm coming in where it's like, man, like this guy played at Texas and this guy played at
yeah,
USC and this guy like just won a national championship, but we're in the same position.
mhm,
Guy from Texas got cut. Like I'm definitely gonna be gone then, you know,
Mm,
and just like just this emotional toll
roller.
to where now it's like, well, I'm gonna push harder to be successful in my sport. And now I'm throwing everything at that. But really, what it needed to be was I'm grateful for the opportunity that I have right now because nobody else has this opportunity. And I talk to our students about that, right? Hey
Mm,
man, you know, life is tough. And I'm not saying that it's not for you, but like you go to class today and you sit next to somebody that's in a wheelchair. You get paid money right now. Like you're
right,
making money to run and to jump where this kid just wants to be able to stand up and
right,
walk, right? Forget the money. Like
right,
he just
right.
wants to be able to stand or she or whoever that might be. And so you
Mhm.
gotta start with just like a posture of gratitude because in that point in time, like you start to see a lot of things kind of in like layers kind of peel back and you see just like the little like minuscule things where it's like, oh, I'm really am blessed to have this. Not even
Mm,
the big things, but like just little things, man. Like, man,
yeah.
you know, I'm blessed to be able to sleep under a roof tonight and it's 10 degrees.
Mm.
Not in Texas, it doesn't get 10 degrees in Texas. But
But oh, yeah, it does
but you know what
somewhere.
I mean? But it
Yeah,
still does freeze, man. There's a
yeah,
bunch of ice out there.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm just grateful that I have a roof, man. Or I'm grateful that I have some water, you know, or I'm
yeah.
watching some other people and they don't have shoes and it's the middle of summer in Texas, you know, and watching somebody walk across the street. Like that was something for me. I watched somebody walk across the street barefoot, you know, and I'm like, it's 110 degrees outside.
Wow.
And so just starting with gratitude, I think helps a lot. And then also just like service. So that's my other thing is like when you serve others, you start to see, and I think
Yeah,
that can help the gratitude come out because then you start to see like it could be worse, right? There's other
right.
things that I don't have or that people don't have, I should say, that I do. And then now I can be grateful for those things. Like throwing yourself into service, I think can be really beneficial for when success tries to pull at you, because you can get a different perspective. And then throwing yourself, you know, into having a posture of gratitude will help as well. And I think those things a lot of times will go hand in hand. But yeah, success and it happens, right? Like,
Mm,
and I'm not saying it's not for me. Like, man, you know how nice it is to be in a college town and wear green and gold, and people will just automatically be like, I know that.
mm,
I'm like, "Oh, let me throw all my Baylor stuff real quick. Like that's a daily, you know, type of thing. So no one's past that and no one's beyond that. Like I'm not playing, I'm not doing anything. I work in student athlete development. It's not like I have this grandiose job,
mhm,
but I do know that, you know, I look like I play or at least
right,
did play. And if I throw on some green and gold in Waco, Texas, like people are going to look at me a certain way. And so I have to check that in myself too, because that success can
yeah.
look just like being associated or tied to it and not necessarily me performing. So yeah, it's a difficult task for everybody, man.
Well, I love that your direction, the gratitude, gratefulness, and service. It made a scripture come up in my mind that I haven't thought about this way until I heard you just say this. The scripture says, "Enter His gates with thanksgiving
Mm,
and His courts with praise." And when you said that, I was like, "Whoa! Enter His gates with thanksgiving." Like with gratefulness. And the gates, when I think about gates in our own lives, I teach this that the gates of our lives are our eyes, our ears, our mouth, what we touch. And what you said is that the gratefulness will open you up to so many other things. The service will open you up to gratefulness. And I
right.
was like, whoa, God knew this. And He said for us to enter His gates, you can't even come in to His
Yeah,
presence without gratefulness and thanksgiving.
right.
And then we know there's the outer court, the inner court, and then the holies of holies. So the outer court is the gates. The inner court is the place of praise, and then the holies of holies is where you're in the presence of God. So when you think about being able to enter at every level, God's like, no, you're gonna have to come through here correctly.
Right.
Like the only thing you're gonna do to benefit coming here, there's one way,
Yeah.
and it's what you said, Mike. So if they know you for that, you just give teaching them scripture. Great gratefulness and praise, man. Gratefulness and praise. And not losing sight. Like you said, Mike, not losing sight because it's a very slippery slope for us as men of God. And I always tell people, I think we need to go a step further instead of just being men of God. I'm more interested today, Mike, in being God's man.
Mm,
Right? I don't wanna be before him. I want people to know that what I am and everything I'm doing and becoming, it is nothing to do with Tarico.
Right.
It's because I'm God's man, because I've yielded my not just my success, I yielded even my failure. I yielded my struggles. I yielded every part of my being to him. And so this that walks around, this that interviews people is
Yeah.
him working through me, not me working through him, right? Let's talk about this, man. When you look at athletes today, what would you change about this work that we do in athletic development? Baylor's in a very special place because Baylor is a faith-based institution, but not a lot of schools are that. And I
Right.
think that's a game changer for a school like a Baylor University because you're not just training them as athletes. How would you encourage those athletes who are, let's say, not at a Baylor? Well, I know you're gonna tell them come to Baylor, but let's let's say if they're
I
not
didn't
but let's say that you are talking to other athletes who are getting advice from you, and they're trying to train themselves internally. How would you encourage them to train themselves spiritually?
I mean, so I think for me, one thing that I learned was like somebody telling me to practice spiritual disciplines wasn't really like enough.
Mm,
Like, hey, like I could sit here and tell anybody, like, hey, make sure you're reading the Bible, make sure you go to church, make sure you're in prayer. Okay, that's great. Like, yes, those things are true. No, you're probably not going to go do that when you have, you know, a family and you have class and you have, if that's not a priority, it's not a priority, just like anything else, right?
mhm.
And so like it's easy for you somebody to say that. It's not as easy for you to like just like pick up and do it.
Yeah.
For me, I always say like a mentor. Like I think finding like a biblical mentor,
Mhm,
or at least a biblically sound mentor. I'm not saying it doesn't have to be like a pastor, but like find
mhm.
somebody. And I tell our students that all the time: find a mentor, any mentor at this point in time that's older than you and has more life experience. So
Right.
a mentor to me is not a freshman to a senior. I think that's perfect, and I think you need that within like this point in time. Uh,
Mhm.
but like I'm talking like if you're 22, like you need to find somebody that's 35 plus
Right, right, right.
because they've seen so much just by living life, right? And it's just a different perspective. But when it comes to like the faith-based part and wanting to train yourself spiritually, like that, I think to me is like a huge starting point is finding a mentor. Now, how do you find a mentor, Mike? That's the next question, right? Or how do I ask somebody to do that? And it's like, have you ever just like sat and talked to somebody and you just felt like they clicked, or you were just like, oh
Right.
man, like, dang, that was really like that was smart as heck, you know?
Mhm.
Boom, like, it could be that easy. You just gotta ask, right? And then you kinda move on from there, and honestly, like, I think a lot of people put a lot of weight on, like, this whole mentorship aspect, like, it has to look like these weekly check-ins that
Mhm.
and we
Mhm.
always get coffee or we go to blah, 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 and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Absolutely not." Like, these are just conversations. It can look like this, right?
Right,
Or it
right.
it can look like a sit down, and that's great, you know? Maybe I'm the mentor and they're a student athlete here, like, you can just pop in my office whenever.
Mhm.
It looks different for everybody, but to be able to have that relationship, right back to being relational, be able to have that relationship with somebody that has some sort of like, I would say like biblical experience, maybe. I don't think that's
Mhm.
the right word, but I'm lost for that word.
You know
But
what's
basically,
coming up is biblical stewardship.
sure, yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, just to be able to have like a mentor, I think is really big when it comes to spiritual training for oneself. Now, of course, I'm still going to say like, you need to find a church to get plugged into. I think that
Mhm.
is huge. So many churches, especially if you're a college athlete, right? And we're talking about college athletes. Like college athletes in college places and churches are going to have college ministries. That's just kind of how it
Mhm.
works. Not just for athletes, but like just in general. But then the other thing is find somebody that's outside of like sport.
Right, right.
Get away from your sport.
Mhm.
Obviously, this can be so consuming, and it really is for everybody that works in it or plays in it. Find people, whether that's students, hopefully, and so like friends, but then also mentorship or a group or whatever that might be outside of the sport. And then, of course, get into practicing spiritual disciplines. But
Mike, nice, and thank you for what you just said about finding somebody outside of your sport. That's one of the areas for me that I know in my work that I do with athletes that I encourage athletes that the highest form of productivity actually is your creativity. And if you the moment you shut down your creativity and you become robotic at just production, then you actually, yeah, you lose yourself because you're not creating as you anymore. And so I love that you said find resources outside of your sport. And that's where I remind them, do you love to draw? Do you like theater? Like, do you like acting? Do you like taking photos? Do you like writing songs? Are you a poet? Like, what do you do, right? And are you still doing those things as a form of enjoyment for yourself and not as a form of, well, because I'm an athlete, I got to get this assignment done, or because I'm an athlete, I got to go to this event, or because I'm an
Right,
athlete,
right,
I got to go make sure I get this rest, I got to go to treatment. Like, if you're not careful, everything is happening in your life just because
right.
I'm an athlete.
Yeah,
And nothing is happening because I love it. I actually just love ice cream.
yeah.
Love these cones.
Right. And so here's the thing is like, and we talked about Baylor being like, very, I guess, just different, right? Because we're a
Mhm.
faith-based institution. But here's the thing is outside of that, like everybody in my space is still working on this in some sense, right? Identity,
Yeah.
that identity piece. And everyone knows that it's important to find something outside of just like your sport. And that's great. I
Mhm.
think here's the thing that some people, not everybody, but I think a lot of people miss is like we talk about it, we talk about it, we talk about it. What resources are you giving them to do
That's
so?
right.
Right.
That's
And
right.
so that's a whole different conversation. It's like, okay, identity, we have our identity workshop. That's great. I'm going to tell you about you need to do that. That's great. Okay. But like at sometimes you just got to simplify it to where it's like, well, you said that like it's good to find a hobby. Everybody says it's good to find a hobby because it's
Mhm.
true. That's why everyone's saying it.
Right.
Here
Here
is
is
a list of hobbies, right?
hobbies.
Like,
Yeah.
let's try them out. Let's have a workshop on bowling, archery, garden.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like now you're talking, and now that's how, like for me, that's how I'm like, okay, now I'm helping you guys out. Before I'm
Mhm.
just telling you. Anybody can come in the seat and tell you the same thing. Like,
That's right.
how are we doing things for you to help you find that, right? What's the next best step? And then how am I guiding you through that step and providing resources for you to take that step instead of me just giving you a workshop lecture on identity is
On
like finding yourself
on find a
in a
hobby.
sport. That's nice. But the other thing is I was that athlete where I'm like, okay, like, I got you. I got you. Yeah,
Right.
sure.
That's what they said last year.
Right. Yeah. You know what? They just bring somebody in? Yeah, 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 yeah. That's great.
No, I love that because it speaks to the practicality of
Right.
our faith as well, right? Tell me to read the Bible or have a Bible study with me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Tell me to go to church or take me to church.
Mm. Mhm.
Right? It's like you can give instruction or you can actually be the instruction.
Right.
And so sometimes I think that's where we get lost. We think all the work that we do, that this stuff is it's great if you're just talking to people, but the the reason talking doesn't just work is because you're asking them to do some practical things and nobody's being the example of the practicality of it. So I love that what we talk about when we talk about Jesus and when we look at Jesus in the Word, what we see is that he was very hands and feet person,
Right.
right? He wasn't. Yeah, we gonna sit down and talk, but let's go over here. Do you see this tree? Watch this.
Right.
Watch what's I'm about to show y'all what happens when you don't produce fruit.
Right.
Right? And it points out that the disciples the next day that they saw the tree had dried up from what he said to it. And they
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, we understand now.
Right. Yeah.
So those practicalities are so necessary. Mike, how has your faith changed the way you prepare, not just in your performance, but how you think about where you are right now? How's your faith transition that for you?
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things I said earlier is just like honoring God. A couple years ago, I think this really changed my thought process on what that means. I had a pastor back where we were at in Indiana.
Mhm.
Before I moved out here. His name's Taylor Frank. He's like one of my favorite people in the world. Shout out Taylor Frank. But he was talking about we talk about God, right? Or Jesus is king, right? That's like a
Mhm.
very like taboo, common statement. Jesus is king. And so we talk about like, oh, well, God is Lord of your life. God is a father figure, or a friend, and we even sing that in worship and all those things. What would it look like to have God be the king? Like in
Wow.
the traditional sense, like what was a king? And then what does that look like if God is the king of your life, right? And so like you owe, and it's depending on wherever you live at, right? Historically, but like
Yep.
all these things go to the king, right? And so like ultimately that's what it's for. Like it
Mhm.
really isn't about everybody else and all the little, peasants, I guess, for lack of a better term. But like, not saying that I'm a peasant, but then there's like, it's a twofold. Is like, so if you have a king and you're not, right, we'll say royalty, and I'll get to that in a second, then like you're working towards like the king, right? And
Kingdom.
the king is over everything.
The kingdom. Right.
Exactly. So, what does that look like to place God as king? Now, I'm going to skip over to this part. You are royalty. So, for me, it's like a prince. My job is to prepare, right? Prepare his kingdom. And then
Mhm.
also, like, whatever my responsibility is within that kingdom. So now I have the people that I'm looking over, my student athletes, right?
Mhm.
So when it
Mhm.
comes to performance, I need to prepare as if I am a prince for the kingdom of God in how I oversee
Right.
what I've been given.
Absolutely.
So that is, I guess, if that makes sense, I feel like,
Yeah.
but like that is now like, and what I'm thinking is like, oh, like I'm the prince, like I'm a child of the
Mhm.
king, and I've been given this ultimately for him. So
Right.
like, I need to make sure I'm doing this thing right, because like that's
That's
like, you know,
dominating your
the rules
purpose,
that's
right?
required, right? And so, like, if I'm gonna act on that, then now how does performance look? And how do I go about doing that? And the first thing is like, hey, like I want people to know that I'm in my position because I was given this from the king. So that's first
Mm.
and foremost is like I didn't like get this, I was given this.
Given this.
Right.
Right.
And
Mm.
so I'm blessed to have it because like he
Right.
was like, hey, here you go. And I'm like,
Right.
cool. And so I want to make sure that I'm acting accordingly
Mhm.
with a gift from the king, right?
Mm.
Now, when it comes to performance and how I go about it and how my faith drives my performance is all
Mhm.
about it comes back to like that honoring piece for me. And so, am I honoring God in what I'm doing? Am I honoring God in how I'm teaching? And then ultimately, am I making sure that I'm being a good steward of I've been given? So, one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot lately, you asked this question, is like, because we're a faith based institution, our office works really closely with our sports ministry.
Mhm.
And so within that, one of the big things is engagement, right? Student athlete development and people, they struggle with engagement. How do we get our student athletes here? But then also like with staff too, like, hey, we want to make sure that this is an important piece. We want to make sure you guys are, pushing your kids to this and this and this.
Mhm.
And this is kind of where the faith and performance thing comes for me. And it's just something that I've been thinking a lot about lately was like, if I'm having a conversation with a coach or a trainer or an ops person or academic staff or whoever it might be, my staff even, I'm like, hey,
Mhm.
we want to make sure we're getting these kids into this session or we want to drive, the importance of this.
Mhm.
A lot of times we'll get questions of like, well, they have this, and this, or, they got this test coming up or whatever it might be. And my thought is, what are your thoughts on eternity?
Come on, man.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's great. And that is important. And they need that to have their scholarship and this and
Right.
that. That's great. If our thoughts are coming from like our faith based background, right,
Right.
at Baylor and what we say we believe,
Mhm.
in as an athletic department, then our thoughts on eternity, this is really not going to be that important as in like we're talking about their soul and their spirit, right? For eternity, not just this little blip of
Right. Come
whatever
on.
it might be. So I want to make sure that like people are understanding the importance of that. And that
Yeah.
obviously goes into now when they come to something that I have, I want to make sure that that's done well because of the impact it has on their eternal you know,
Yeah.
being. So it's a whole different ballgame.
I love Mike, the direction you're headed with that is like where I personally feel that the Lord wants everything to go. Like with a eternal perspective.
Yeah.
Meaning, if the scripture says, and that's something that I've been sitting with too, Mike, the scripture says only what you do for Christ is going to last. And when I sit with that, and seriously, first of this year, I've been sitting with that since the first of this year. Only what you do for Christ is going to last, Tarico. It made me take a look at my life
Yeah.
and really ask myself, the things that you're doing, have you really put God ahead and put him as the first priority?
Yeah.
Matthew 6:33, but seek ye first the kingdom and
Mhm.
his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Well, the emphasis there is seeking first the kingdom's perspective, the king's identity, the king's alignment with the king, right? And so if that's what I'm doing and everything, so as I'm going to meetings, like for me, even in my business, is my business, the identity of it, teaching people to seek the king first? Or are you teaching them to seek you first?
Right.
Right? Are you separating it and saying, well, this is the priority right here first. Let's let's get them to this, because this is what the world wants to see them as.
Right.
Where God challenges and says, I know what the world wants to see, but when I get up in the morning, here here's my top 3.
Right.
Right? And am I executing God's top 3? Watch this. Even if it makes other people uncomfortable and pleases the king,
Mhm.
because that's where I see the struggle for most of us is living in the world but not being of it.
Right.
So I love that you centered there and stated that. Mike, you mentioned that you had some difficulties. And I want to go here before we end this conversation. You mentioned you had some difficulties with your grades, and as you transition and matriculated through your own personal relationship with the Lord and your athletic career, what did suffering teach you that success could never teach you?
You can't do it on your own.
Mike, I love the simplified version. You can't do it on your own.
Man, so yeah, backstory, and this is kind of this is like, yeah, I feel like I have to give the backstory to get to this. So bear with me here. So started off, and this is kind of my like story too, right? But we'll fast forward, finished high school, went to a Division II school, stayed a semester, jetted. I hated it. I was out of there. This is pre-transfer portal and stuff like that, right? So
Mm.
I'm aging myself here.
God.
But yeah, so pre-transfer portal, basically you had to get released back to the NCAA. My coach was like, no. So I left. I transferred to like a school down the street from home, ended up dropping out. So I just stopped going to college, right? First gen student anyway. I was like, whatever. Out for like a year, go to California, live with my friend at my friend's grandpa's house in this back shed, and we just lived together. We were in like a place called Altadena, California. Went to
Okay.
Santa Monica Community College, JUCO, right? To play football.
Mhm.
I'm out there, drive out there in my beat up old car. I think first week get hit, car doesn't work no more. I'm like,
Mm.
well, so I'm parked, have to start taking the bus. Bus goes through like South Central LA, where I was at to get to where we were trying to go. And that was just like a lot of life, man. Like grades already weren't great. I still just want to play football. Now I'm like out on the street. If the bus didn't keep working, we were stuck in the middle of, Los Angeles. That's probably not the safest place to be. If I want to wear red one day, he's got to wear blue just to make sure nobody's running up on us, and
Mhm.
even saw way too much that like people shouldn't see,
Mhm.
to be honest, in terms of like violence and all the things, right?
Mhm.
But all that to say, like sleeping in my car, sleeping at a bus stop, I lived that life while I'm still trying to, everything's good and like, all this stuff. And I'm like, at the same time, like I don't even have a home anymore at this point, right? And so like,
It's crazy that we still say that, right? Like everything's
yeah,
good. We know it's bad.
no, yeah, it's terrible.
It's terrible. It ain't even close.
But like, and this is what I was talking about, like rock bottom, right? Like I'm not playing. I don't have anywhere to sleep. Like
Mm.
I got no money. Like I'm just like, I'm at the bottom. I'm at this gas station. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. This guy comes up, homeless man comes up to me and my friend. And he's just, I remember like I could close my eyes and see it like right now.
Mm.
And this was a long time ago. And he's just, young kings, you know, it doesn't have to be like this. This isn't the end of your story. And I was like, what? He hands me and my friend, he's like, this is all I got. He hands us both $1. I had 8 in like 2 days.
Mm.
Hands us both $1. So I grab a bag of chips. My friend grabs a bag of chips. Man, best bag of chips ever. I'm not.
What kind of chips you buy, Mike? Do you remember what
Frito, yeah, Lay's sour cream and onion, man. That's my favorite. That's my favorite.
sour cream and onion? Shout out to the sour cream and onion.
Yeah, yeah. I need to get an NIL deal.
Right, right.
But yeah, like that hit me, bro. Like, I was like,
Mm.
man, this homeless man, and it sounds terrible, but like this was my thought process at the time. So you know, I want to keep it real. And I was like, this homeless man's got more money than I have and just gave me his
Mm.
last dollar. Like, bro, like
Mm.
what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like I was just like, dang. Anyways, fast forward, like that was it. Like when I say rock bottom, that was my rock bottom. And I talked about that earlier. Like that was it for me. And I was like, I'm not doing this, bro. Like grades started coming up. Like I was like, and it was just really like, I remember praying like that night. And I was like, I don't want to be here anymore, but doing it my way has not obviously not worked,
Right.
bro. Like this,
Yeah.
if this was it, like, man, that's not. And so, and that I think is where my faith really like started to become my own. And like, I just started like moving towards whatever now. I'm not saying like everything was perfect like next day and like life was good,
Mhm.
but it started climbing up and I started caring about, you know, going to class and I started caring about, cause I wanted out of that. Like that was it. Like I was like, all right, well, this hasn't worked and I don't want to be here. This is what it's going to take to get me out. Like, God, you got it. And so like,
Mhm.
just help me, you know, with where I need to go. And that's actually how I chose Taylor University. Because it was a small faith-based school. And that point, I was like, I need to go somewhere I'm gonna be a better person. Like football is cool and all, but like to be honest, I've seen what it's like. I don't need to do that. I'd rather go somewhere where I'll just be well-rounded, better in my faith, better as a man, better, you know, as a person and as a citizen and all of those good things. And so that's kind of how I ended up there.
Mhm.
And yeah, and so like when I talk about suffering, like that was my like terrible point in time. And obviously there's been different parts of life that I've had that have hit me, but like that was it for me, like my biggest like turning point.
Mhm.
And so like suffering for me is like, all right, well, you did everything on your own. I can't do it myself. And from there, it's really just been like Psalm 121 has really kind of been like my, you know, I lift my eyes up to the hills. Where's my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth, because that was it. Like that was the only help I had.
Right.
I
Right. I
had
ain't got nobody
nothing,
else.
no other help. And
Right.
that's kind of been like my life verse, man, because of that, like suffering and that time of suffering. And I really do believe like metal and like iron and whatever you want to say, diamonds or whatever, everything is refined in the fire and the fire is suffering. And so like, what does suffering teach you? It teaches you how to be refined in what you want and what you're doing.
Mm.
And you really don't hit like that peak without some sort of valley. And for me, that's like, that was kind of my valley. And that really taught me like, I can't do it on my own. And that doesn't just mean like, you know, like, oh, like God is doing everything, which I do believe that is true. But like God also places other
Mhm.
people in your life where you're still not
That's
doing
right.
it on your own. And that's orchestrated by
Mhm.
God through, you know, whatever he places in your life. And that could be people and they're there for, you know, with you for a reason or a season or a day, but yeah, God orchestrates that and you can't do it on your own. And that's really kind of what suffering has taught me is I just can't do it on my own. So grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be where
I
I'm
got
at.
I got I got 2 more questions for you, Mike,
Now
'cause
holler at me, man. I got time.
I got 2 more questions. That one of them is this, because I know everybody keep hearing us say you played in the NFL. We ain't talk about it much. What teams you play for, Mike? What position did you play going into the NFL in college?
So I always get the shock and awe look. In college, I played quarterback and receiver, and everyone's like, "You played quarterback?" I'm like, I wasn't as big as I am now. Like, I wasn't as tall or like just like weight wise.
Mhm.
But I played quarterback and receiver in college, and I literally played both depending on the year. I started at one or the other. One year I played both.
Mhm.
My senior year I played receiver, and then in the league when I played at Indianapolis, so I was an Indianapolis Colt. Great organization, loved them. Carly Ursay's down there, love her, and really everybody that I was able to work with out there. But yeah, I played tight end when I got there, and I went as kind of like a both and type.
Mhm.
And most teams, they were like, you're either gonna play receiver, you're gonna play tight end, maybe you play both. We ended up having somebody get hurt as a tight end, and that was it. So ended up playing tight end down there. I'm really grateful for that opportunity. And I know we haven't talked about it a lot, and I really don't talk about it a lot. People
Mhm.
don't know that about me that much unless like tell them or they know me pretty well at this point.
Right.
But yeah, so like I said, it's just a game, it's just a sport. Grateful for the doors that it's opened for me. Grateful for the things that I've learned during that time. But at the same time, like that's not who I am. It's just
Right.
something I've done.
And my last question is this, Mike. My last question is this. Why is it important? Why do you think it's important for athletes to have a safe space to talk about their faith, their mindset, or even their mental health?
I would say because people, I feel like a majority of people don't get it, right? But the other part of that is like when you do say something, you feel like this sense of weakness because you're built up as an athlete to be strong.
Yeah.
And so having the space to be able to be weak, which is not weak, I think is huge and is key for them to be able to get things out that they wouldn't necessarily be able to say just because it's just not it's I think a lot of times frowned upon or seen as a weakness to be able to talk about, especially like the mental health side, right? And to be able to say that you're struggling or whatever it might be. But to me, honestly, that's a sign of strength because it's a sign of self-awareness, which is obviously huge also, in sport. But for somebody to be aware to be like, hey, I need help with this or this is going to help you in the long run. Just like, hey, I need help with this route. Hey, I need help with this play. Hey, I need help with this, skill or whatever it might be. It's the same thing, but more for like just life in general. Like I said, I like football is something I've done. It's not who I am, but that mental side is going to be with me both in football or outside of football. So I really should probably be taking care of that, maybe more so than even any skill that I needed. And also like if it is about the sport, like that will help you in the sport too, right?
Right.
So like you're tripping if you're not. But, I just think it's great to be able to have a space for that. And we need to be able to continue to create more spaces for athletes to be able to talk about what's going on in life and to make it more, normalized to be able to say like, hey, I struggle. Like I've said, I struggle. Like I have struggled
Right.
all the time. A lot of people do. Everybody does.
Mhm.
And so for some reason, that's not like a norm for athletes to be able to have that same struggle as any other person. And we need to be able to humanize them just as much as we do everybody else. So that's like the mental side. And then the face side, again, like I said, it comes down to like that eternal perspective, right? So it's important to have a space to be able to have that eternal perspective because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, like what you said, what you're doing for Jesus is what lasts.
Mhm.
And so obviously coming from my, perspective and your perspective to be able to have a space to continue to dive into your faith and then hopefully bring others along with you is really more important than any of the other stuff. And it's going to be the most important thing that you're going to do with your life. And so I would think that you would want to have a space for the most important thing, right? And
Yeah.
that's going to be the priority. For me, my priority is to make sure that I'm doing that and living right, and then also leading my family in that way as well. And then teaching my kids how to do that for themselves. But yeah, eternally, when we talk about that, everyone's days are numbered and everyone's days are limited. And so you want to
Mhm.
make sure that you're doing right and, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Because
Come
if
on
by the
now.
time you get ready, it's going to be too late. Yeah. So,
Mike, man, I appreciate this conversation, man. It's been so rich for me. Anytime I can get together with people who understand faith and speak faith, the Bible teaches us, the scripture says, behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. And I love anything that brings us together, but also with athletics right now in the world and the way it's going. I think it's paramount for us to continue to cultivate these conversations so they don't fall to the background of our athletes' lives when they're supposed to be leading their lives,
right.
right? We try to treat church, ministry, relationship with God like after you destroyed yourself, bring that part of you to God and he gonna
Right.
pick
Yeah.
it up and then he'll use it.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's great, but can we endorse you don't gotta destroy it? Because
right.
for all of us who did destroy it, it wasn't fun. Like we appreciate it, but hindsight, my goal is to help people to not destroy their life so much. And that's what the Lord's plan for our life was not for us to destroy it, but for us to live in the abundance of relationship with him and
Mm.
see how vast and all that he has for us that is exciting. And so I love meeting people like yourself that make that experience and that walk for people excited. Any final words you want to leave with our audience today about this work to an athlete that may be hanging in the balance, Mike? One of the things I say is to all my guests is that some athlete somewhere is hanging in the balance. And where we're talking about an eternal perspective, they're actually thinking about, man, I need to get my life right. Like, I know I've been doing this, but this is leading me down a road that has nothing to do with my eternal identity. What would you say to that person that's watching us today, Mike?
Hit my line. But for real, like, I guess I've just always tried to be one because I know what it's like.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, man, I don't know who to call. And it's like, everybody says, like, hey, if you need anything, let me
Oh, yeah,
know.
if you need me.
Yeah, yeah. If you need something, let me know. And it's like, no, man, like, for real. Like, if you need me, hit my stuff because I understand. I guess it's just I understand, right?
Yeah.
And I would say be strong, hold fast to the word, like open the word, and that will do so much for you. Find somebody that can speak life into you. Find me, like, for real.
Right.
But at the same time, like, understand like your value and who you are. Understand your value in the eyes of God.
Yeah.
And then understand that you don't owe anyone else any part of you, and just to have that eternal perspective and then live for the king like we were talking about earlier. So yeah, I'm always I'm not gonna say I'm always free,
I was just about to
but
say, Mike, be careful what you're about to say.
I'm not always free, but I'm always willing.
That's
So
right.
if it's not immediate, it will get back to you because I understand what it's like to be there. I understand that it's hard to have somebody to go to. I understand what it's like to not have a mentor. And that's something I've gone through at multiple different, stages of life.
Amen.
I understand what it's like to not have a parent or a father figure. So like I've been there, and just want to make sure that I'm always willing and open to be able to talk. So Tariq, would love for you to, in some way or form, if somebody ever reaches out, just let me know and you can give them my stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mike, man, I appreciate you so much for joining us here at Exposure Talks today. Having this great conversation. Guys, this is Mike Miller, Director of Character Formation at Baylor University. For those of you guys who are there at Baylor, make sure he said, come by his office. I heard him say it I heard him. Come by his office. And if you're not at Baylor University, come by his office. I
That's
heard him
right.
say it. I heard him say it.
Come on
So
with it.
listen, we don't want anybody to be out here alone. We're here to help support you and most of all, direct you towards where your help comes from. Because I think so many times we're out here and we're by ourselves and we think we're alone, but God promised to send you a helper. And I just want you to hear me say, here at Exposure, we're here to serve. Here to serve you guys. Mike, thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate you, man.
Guys, make sure you reach out, connect with Mike, go and like the podcast, subscribe, follow, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Holla
God
if you
bless you.
need me.